have to keep the fire burning. Chase your dream, don't hesitate. Keep on dreaming, keep on yearning. Don't let the flame die while you wait.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Artist Spotlight with Ralph here on Rockin' the Valley. Tonight, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Michael Braunfeld to the show. Michael, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Ralph. How are you?
Fantastic. Couldn't be better. It has been a long, long time since we have actually seen each other. So it's kind of a pleasure to get together, even if it is over Zoom, and get to hear you play again. It's been long enough, I think.
I appreciate you having me tonight, and it's good to see your face, buddy. Even if it's just
yeah,
on the
you
computer
too.
screen here.
Yep. Hey, it's my favorite time of the year. I'm representing my favorite time of the year, opening day of the best sports season in history. All right, it has nothing to do with music, but I just thought I'd throw that in there. And the Flyers won 6-3, by the way. So,
hey, fantastic.
Yeah, I had the game on in the background while we were doing sound check, and the game is over though. So cool. So I'm really looking forward to hearing some of your new stuff. Obviously, Driver. I didn't realize it came out that long ago. For some reason, I thought it came out sometime in 2020.
Yeah, no, it was late March of 2019.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was just I was way behind the times and didn't start listening to it until 2020. I guess. Who knows? I could be behind the times a little bit. Get a little busy sometimes.
Yeah.
How you been dealing with things with all the shutdowns, and because I know you do a lot of bouncing back and forth to Nashville and making some other stops along the way.
Yeah, it's been tough. The last show that I had was February 25th in Nashville. Actually, at a great round at the Bluebird with some good friends of mine, a great writers' night, and then the world shut down, and that's the last time I got onto a plane or had to drive long distance. So, on one hand, it's nice to have a break. On the other, I sure do miss making my living out there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, having a break is nice, but as long as it's not too long a break.
Yeah, this one's gone on for quite a bit.
Yeah, year-long breaks are never good. They're never fun.
Here, here.
You know,
here.
I've been fortunate enough to stay busy during at least part of the pandemic, but it's not easy, and it's not easy to find a place to play, and it's not easy to find people coming out to listen to music now, and so it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. Do I want to stay home and write music, and or do I want to get out and play? And it's kind of want to do both, But we'll take what the world gives us at the moment.
I think for me, the hardest part has been so much of my writing comes from being out in the world and getting around and observing people and spying on people, as I like to say. And without that, it's been tough finding inspiration. I can watch the news all day long. I can read as many books as I possibly can, but there's just nothing like being out there to try and find a spark of inspiration. It's been tough.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for you to drag me on tour with you one of these days.
Well, man, when we can get that done, let's go.
We jokingly talked about that a few years ago, but I'm game now. I'm ready to go.
I like it, man. I like it.
Definitely. Let's say, what do you got? What do you got for us to hear first?
All right. Well, let's do a tune from the album.
All right.
And then and we'll make sure to get to something new at some point during this fun time.
All right.
This town was in a movie once, 55 years ago. Everyone still clings to it like religion, and all they know. There's a theater they all ran from, a diner where they ate, still bragging from an old billboard just off the interstate. Now the factories have shut down, the stores are shuttered up. Main Street's just a place to go when you need to fill her up. And there's hookers on corners, the cops just walk their beats. They're cooking meth in abandoned house, Bridge and Ashland streets. This town's got nothing on which to borrow. The good old days good and gone. This town will still be here tomorrow, but I'm packing up my things and moving on. Yeah, my old man, he's still hanging in, though he's getting on in years. Still standing tall behind his bar, pouring shots and slinging beers. He still talks a tough man's game, though he's starting to feel his age. He's a bit more than forgetful when he talks about the good old days. And I know that I once promised you, back when we were kids, that I'd stay with you forever. For a while, that's what I did. But I'm getting out tomorrow. You can come with me or not. It'll be my first time anywhere, and I reckon my last shot. This town's got nothing on which to borrow. Good old days, good and gone. This town will still be here tomorrow, but I'm packing up my things and moving on. It's all I've got. I just can't wait no more. I'm pouring drinks at 10 a.m. All the has-beens and the have-nots will open up the door and wonder where I am. This town's got nothing on which to borrow. The good old days, good and gone. They're good and gone. This town will still be here tomorrow, but I'm packing up my things and moving on. Yes, I'm packing up my dreams and I'll be gone.
Man, we definitely have some catching up to do. You said right before you started that song, I'll play something off the album, which, you know, I'm thinking is new. and then I'll play some new stuff. I'm like, okay. Because the album's still new to me, even though it's been a year and a half or a year.
Well, then we can just call that the new stuff, and then we don't have to embarrass me by playing something that's no good and nobody's ever heard before.
I can't imagine you playing anything that's no good.
I don't know. I throw away a lot.
Yeah, I think we all do, but I don't think I ever sat and listened to a song that you played and went, "What the hell's he doing?" You know what I mean?
That's very kind of you.
It's
That's
always
very kind.
been a pleasure to listen to you play, no matter what it was. And I mean, obviously, I got that opportunity almost every week when Chelsea and I were coming to your open mic night all the time.
Yeah, man,
But
that was a blast. It was a
yeah,
blast.
it was.
Always enjoy
Um,
hearing you guys too. That's for sure.
yeah, and and when I heard you with the full band, that was a great show that night. That was just
Man, we love doing
whole
it.
new level.
I'm just lucky those guys let me be their singer every once in a while and let me share the stage with them. But yeah, it sure is fun to pick up a Telecaster and turn an amp up and play with some pedals for a night. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Telecaster, huh?
Yeah. Or a Gretsch or a Strat, or a Rickenbacker, whatever.
Whatever you can get your hands on that night, right?
There you go.
Whatever it is you threw in the car as you
I
were
think my,
walking out
my
the door.
my wife will tell you that I am somewhat addicted to collecting guitars. So uh, she's none too pleased with me about that habit. But what are you gonna
Yeah.
do?
My brother has the same issue with his wife, so, you know, she's not too happy about his habit. And, and I guess like 20 some bass guitars later, she probably has a point.
Yeah.
You know?
You never know. My take on guitars has always been, and I 100% believe this. I think that there are songs in every single one of them, and
Yeah.
going from acoustic to electric or different styles of electric, hollow body, solid body, smaller acoustics, dreadnoughts, 12 strings. I'm convinced that they all have their own songs in them, and so far, any new addition to the collection has not let me down so far. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Cool.
as long as the songs keep coming, hopefully the guitars do, and I won't have to give that up.
I think my sister in law drew the line. I, I was on tour a couple years ago, and I was going down to Florida, and I ended up flying down to Florida. My brother told me, "Leave your guitar at home. I got a couple guitars that you can use." And I'm thinking to myself, "You're a bass guitarist. Like, what is it that I can use to play gigs while I'm down there in Florida?" And I got down there, and he's never played anything but the bass. So, um, as long as I've known him, and he's my brother, so I've known him since birth. And I get there, and he goes, "Oh, there's two guitars in the living room. You can pick whichever one you want. My good guitars are upstairs, so you just pick one of those two." One was a Martin, the other was a Taylor. Those were his. You can use these guitars, and he's a bass guitarist, and I think that's where she drew the line. Like, okay, like, why are you buying these guitars?
Uh,
So, but I ended up playing the Taylor,
Good choice. Good choice.
which I loved, and buying a Martin. So, go figure. Anyhow, so tell me what you've been working on lately, then, since it's new.
I've been I've been writing a lot, and as I said, throwing away most of it. I've really been I've been finding it really tough to as I was talking about, get inspired when I'm not out there living life. And so I just force myself to come. I'm in my studio right now. I force myself to get down here and work on stuff, whether it's just practicing guitar or whether it's an actual songwriting session. I've got a couple things that I'm happy with, and past that, it's kind of just to make sure that I'm writing something, giving myself, I call them homework assignments. Write a song in this style, write a song reminiscent of this songwriter, or some kind of genre, and kind of push boundaries a little bit. Um, and every once in a while, that'll spark something that I really like, and change it up and turn it into a Michael Braunfeld song. And more often than not, I just get to say, okay, I wrote a song, toss it away and get to work, and hopefully that has triggered whatever muse is going to come down and give me something good.
Do you actually toss them, or do you set them aside?
I have probably thrown. I keep most of them in a file. What I have often found is even if I don't like the entire song, I can usually find a line or two that I was happy with. That it was at least enough to keep going to finish that song, and sometimes I can use it somewhere else. And kind of put a collage together. So I typically keep them. If it's really bad, which thankfully doesn't happen that much anymore these days, I have tossed a few in the trash over my time. Nature of the
I have a
beast.
tendency to keep them, and sometimes I go back to them, and sometimes I don't. It's just when I hit that writer's block,
I
I
think
go, oh, you know
I
what? There's got to be
usually-
something in here I can use.
Yeah. I mean that's exactly it. I mean I typically I keep everything that I write. I have a dedicated notebook for scribbling down notes and ideas and fragments. I have another dedicated note for drafts. So usually something is always close by enough that I can reference it and maybe work with it. Just plug
It's
away.
funny how people get the impression you come out with a brand new song, and they're like, "Well, this must have just happened to you," and then you go, "Nah, this was from like 8 years ago."
Man, I don't. We don't want to talk about how old I am, but man, I got songs that are 30 years old now at this point, and
Yeah,
some of them I'm still playing. So, like I said, every once in a while you get lucky.
yeah. You're still a hell of a lot younger than me, so don't feel bad.
Well, you're looking good, buddy. You're looking good.
So what do you got next?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's try something new.
Cool. Song have a title?
It does. I'm going to preface this because it's kind of a sad song. I've always, I think ever since Liz Phair's exile in Guyville, I've always wanted to write a song about divorce. And so I finally did. And my wife does not like it very much. So it is fiction. But hopefully there's some truth in it. This is a brand new one. It's called We Were One. We were one until we were done. Burned out like an ember, burned out like a sun. Whether you still love me, whether you don't, I'll always remember. You will or you won't. All that you have inside's never enough. All that you save for someone. Oh, how I cried and cried. You were in love. I was too when we were one. We traded in pain. We each took our turn. We met in the foyer. some big city firm. I reviewed the papers, I signed on the line, then I thanked my Lord for all of her time. All that you have inside's never enough. All that you save for someone. Oh, how you tried and tried, you were in love. I was too when we were one. I always figured I'd figure out what to say. We'd see eye to eye, we'd see brighter days. Years go by, time slips away, moves on and on until it's gone. But man, we were something when we were young. In early September, late summer sun, we were one until we were done. Burned out like an ember, burned out like that sun.
So I can sit here and listen to you all night. You want to stick around till about midnight?
Yeah,
I won't talk anymore. We'll just listen to you play.
we can do that.
You get enough material to cover that, right?
Well, probably not rehearsed, but hell, we can go for it.
You know, we'll just kick Angie's show right off the air, and we'll run our own. You know.
Oh, that wouldn't be fair to Angie. No. We'll just have to do it again sometime.
Yeah,
Off camera.
definitely. All right, so definitely love that song.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Sounds like something I would write, though. You know, like the sad
I
love
like
song.
my sad songs, right? That might be why we got along so well.
That could be. That could be. You never know. Definitely. I used to drop into the open mic night at Godfrey Daniels every now and then, and Dave Fry, when I would get on the stage, Dave Fry would make some comment about take all the knives and sharp instruments away from everybody right now, because Ralph's about to get up on stage and you're going to want to cut your wrist when you're done listening to his songs, you know?
I get it, man. I started very young in this business, and my dad used to say, he'd come to all my shows, and he used to say that they should be handing out cyanide capsules at the door for everybody on the way out. Call me the Prince of Darkness.
The Prince of Darkness, huh? I was just, the king of woe is me. Try to get away from that stuff, but sometimes it's just there. You know?
You got to do it, man. That's
it just
life.
hits you.
You know,
yeah.
I know people who somehow manage to write happy songs. I'm not sure I get how they do it. I haven't figured out that formula, but to me it's life, and I think a lot of people would describe my music as gritty and dark, and I think it definitely is. But I think, and with the exception of that last song, that most of it there's redemption and second chances and people continuing the struggle despite whatever's going on in the song in their life. So I don't know.
I think too that everybody lives with struggles in their life, and
right.
The struggles are the things that remind you that there's better days ahead, I think, and that when you overcome those struggles, then the memory of them isn't nearly as bad, I think.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
also becomes an inspiration for what we do. And you're right about them. Sometimes even you're right about them, it makes you feel better about the struggle and
Absolutely.
where you were and where you are now. So
There's absolutely catharsis to a lot of the more personal songs, or any songs really, being
mhm.
able to let it out. I think it's a huge piece of all art. And I mean, look, if there were no highs, there'd be no lows. My son wrote that line in a song that we wrote together a little while back,
Yeah,
uh, and I firmly believe that. But yeah, I've always loved sad songs. I've always been drawn to the darker stuff for some reason. I don't consider it all that dark. I mean, I've written plenty of songs, and people have come up to me and on any number of them told me it's the saddest song they've ever heard in their life, and I'll be like, that was one of the happy ones, man.
okay, that's bad. If it was one of the happy ones.
What are you gonna do? A man like
Yeah,
mine died in
exactly.
that one, right?
Yeah. I had a guy not too long ago, probably within the last month and a half, 2 months, that bought my first album at one of my shows. And when he saw me the next time, he said, "Wow, that was really dark." I said, "Okay, well, if you didn't like dark, then..." He's like, "No, no, I loved it, but it's really dark." Okay. Well, the second album's not as dark, so here.
Here,
But yeah,
here's the
and
happy
thinking
album
about it,
to
it
wash it
really.
down.
What's that?
Here's the happy album to wash the dark one down. You got to buy
Yeah,
both. That's a good
I don't know if I
marketing
would call it a
strategy.
happy album or not, but it's not quite as dark as the first one, that's for sure. Um, but I never really thought of it that way until he said that, and I'm like, let me go back and listen to this and see how dark it really is. Then I went, yeah, he's right. Yes, he is. The only thing not dark about it was keep the fire burning. But oh
Good to
well, that's his life. So, so what are you gonna do for us next?
Boy, let's see. I got the capo on 3, so how about we do a song called "Stay"? You probably know this one.
Absolutely. That would have been my second choice when I said favorites.
Oh, see, that's what I was gonna go for when you said you had a favorite. I thought I was gonna say "Stay," but yeah, this one's
It's
on.
right up there.
This one's on the latest driver too. So yeah, here we go. We met in the springtime, '94, in the parking lot out back behind the record store. You were there with a friend, but you seemed so alone. I asked if maybe I could take you home. We jumped in my car, turned onto the street, my foot on the gas, your hand on my knee. You said you were wild, you had no fear. I'd have told you whatever you wanted to hear, so you'd stay. Stay. In the blink of an eye, the wreck of my life was ablaze. And all through that summer, we were never apart. The dog days of August burned as hot as my heart. You taught me to smoke, you taught me to drink, you taught me to love, and you taught me to think. Then you told me one morning you had something to say. Your dad had a new job, you were moving away. I cried and I cried, I thought I would die. I couldn't believe we'd be saying goodbye. Won't you stay? Stay. In the blink of an eye, thought it was best. Headed off to a new life out in the Midwest. There was talk of a baby that never arrived. There was a boy and a pair of black eyes. So I wired you money for a bus out of there. My folks put you up in the bedroom upstairs. I'd hope you'd stick around. I was trying to help. You were searching for something, trying to find yourself. Oh, stay, stay. In the blink of an eye, the wreck of my life was ablaze. I'm long since married, settled down. I heard you did the same in another town. With houses, spouses, and kids of our own. I'm happy, hope you are, with a life you have sown. But your first love is special, and when you are young, it's bold, it helps mold you into who you will become. I think of you sometimes at the end of a day, and I wonder what might have been if you had stayed.
Yep, still up there.
Thanks, man.
Still high on the list of favorites.
Man, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, most definitely. God, I remember you playing that so many different times. Remember, I think the first time I heard you play that, you played a little show up here in Allentown with Kyle Schwartzwelder at this little coffee house.
Yeah, the timing works about that. I think I wrote that song in the summer of 15, and I remember that show. So, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think that was the first time I heard it. Then, of course, obviously, I heard it a few more times at Burlap and Bean, but yeah. Yeah, and I've liked it ever since I heard it the first time. So, great stuff, man. Yeah, it's not really going to get old. So, definitely not. Especially now that it's out, and I don't have to see you to hear it now.
You just keep watching the video here.
Yeah, there you go. That's true, very true. So are you working on a new album now, or just writing new stuff?
We've got outlines for a couple different projects, and I'm trying to figure out what to do. I have an idea for a more folky, stripped down acoustic, kind of a themed album. And then I've got a collection of songs that I've written and co-written down in Nashville. So we were thinking about kind of doing something a little bit more on the countryside. And the more time goes by, the piles just keep adding up. So it should be time for another true Michael Braunfeld or Boneyard Hounds record. We just got to pick. One of the things that has really been hard about this year is, the band and I, we had some good release shows and hit the festival circuit for a bit. And then the summer comes time to promote the record, and you're out doing radio tours and industry conferences and shelling out big bucks just to get in front of people and shake people's hand. So right about the time it was time to make some money off of the record, the world shut down.
Yeah.
And that's how the next record gets made. Is by
Yeah.
and paying for the last one. But we're working on it. My buddy Kyle Schwartzwelder, who's in the band with me and co-produced driver alongside Glenn Barrett. We talk pretty much every day and always shooting back ideas back and forth.
Cool. Once the world opens back up again, then
Yeah. What
maybe
about you, man?
get there.
You working on something?
Just finished, actually, just released my second album the week before Christmas. So um, took some time because of a couple different obstacles. One the guy who owns the studio that I record at, he was sick for a while, and then there were some issues getting the band together, and then once we got in and got the acoustic guitar done and we got the drum tracks laid down and sent everything down to my brother to lay down the bass tracks, that's when the world shut down.
Yeah.
So, and I had recorded 2 songs that are on the album out in Canton, Ohio, back in late 2018, early 2019. Released one of them in April of 19, thinking that the album would be soon behind. And that's when everything just, what could go wrong went wrong for several months. And, like I said, once Michael was feeling better and back to running the studio, we got the drum tracks and the guitar tracks down, and then the world shut down again. So I don't think we got back into the studio again until July. And then between July and August, we laid down the all the other instruments and the vocals and the background vocals and all that stuff. And finally got it done. Released the first single off the album in October, or actually the second single off the album, but the first one in a year and a half. And then the next single came out in November, and then the full album came out in December. So working on some new stuff, and we'll get back at it again shortly. No plan as of yet when to get started on it, but got enough material that I want to run through and run back and forth. Especially my brother and I do a lot of talking back and forth and sharing the music back and forth to each other and making suggestions. I almost feel like at this point he's become a co-writer. Just for the suggestions and stuff he makes. He really doesn't have anything to do with the lyrics, and the musical composition is, I'd say, 90% me. And then he'll throw his 2 cents in, but everything he does on the bass guitar is I just am in love with. So, even though he's down in Tampa, he's my bass guitarist. So,
and he's got enough of them to fulfill that role.
Yeah, for sure. And I always say, it's funny, I always say, oh, he's the best bass player on the planet, but he might be my brother, but I actually believe that. So
fantastic, man. It's good to have talent running in the family.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's awesome. So, but anyhow, this is more about you than it is about me.
Of course it is.
Yeah, that's what this is. That's what the
about
whole
you.
show's about, man. I don't usually talk about myself, and you see, I don't have a guitar in my hand. I'm not playing any music. I had one guest on several weeks ago that was like, I thought this was going to be you and me trading songs off. I'm like, no, it's you playing songs, me helping you talk about them, and then listening to some more. So, well, on that note, see that segue?
Well done. Bravo. Let's see.
The first song you played, what was the name of that song?
It's called This Town.
Okay.
I'm going to tune for you because
cool.
Because I love you, Ralph.
You're the man. And when you're done focusing on that, tell people where they can find you.
You can find me in my studio for the next.
Yeah.
Lord knows how long. No, I'm at michaelbraunfeld.com. That's BRAUNFELD, michaelbraunfeld.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and Apple Music and Amazon and Spotify and Pandora, and where you can find music, you can hopefully find me, unless something has happened that I'm unaware.
As long as we can spell your name, we got you, right?
There you go, man. There you go.
I don't know. I don't know if I was aware that you're on YouTube. I'll have to look. I may actually subscribe to your channel and just forget, but
I am admittedly not as good at updating it as I should be in this day and age of digital platforms. But one of the things we had to do here in the studio during the pandemic was to not only build a recording studio, which was always the goal, but now a television studio as well.
yeah.
So now that I have the equipment, hopefully I'll start making some updates and learning how to do some of this stuff. Old man that I am.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I rely on CD Baby to throw stuff on my YouTube channel. When I put my music out, they put it there. I think the last video I posted on there was back in October of 2018, I think, with the full band. So, but the new music goes on there, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, we did for the singles off of Driver. We did 3 official videos with, and that was a lot of fun. But unless labels spending a whole lot of money getting me to pick up an iPhone and figure out how to turn it around and do something cool on the screen.
Yeah. Keep thinking I got to get a couple more videos out. I have one official video and that's it. So, and that's for Keep the Fire Burning off the first album, the original version. And now in hindsight, I'm thinking, gosh, I should have waited until I put the remix out and done the video on that. But too late. And I'm not going to do a second video on the same song. So, but yeah, I definitely want to get a couple more videos done. But, that'll probably have to wait until the summertime, somewhere in that end.
Yeah.
So, in the meantime, what's up there is up there. And now I post my show every week. Like tomorrow morning, I'll post this.
Well, man,
under the on the playlist, so that people can go back and look at it. Anybody that missed it.
That's something, man. You're doing good work out there.
And I'm trying. I love being connected in the music community, and just doing what I can, not only for myself, but to help others out too. And I've been doing some things. I have a publication that I run. At least once a week, I post the music that's going on around the Lehigh Valley and stuff. And, whether it's live music or online streams, open mic night, stuff like that, promote the venues and the musicians. And used to call it weekly live music hotspots, and then hotspot took on a whole new meaning. So I decided to delete that from the title of the post, but now it's just your
super spreader hotspot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and I mean, it's not. I feel like when I started it, COVID wasn't an issue, and and the whole idea was to really promote live music throughout the the Lehigh Valley, and so I kind of made a commitment to support the artists and the venues that they're doing live music. So while I don't want to sit here and go, hey, go to this show and go catch COVID, I also don't want to go, okay, well, I'm not going to support you guys anymore either. So, so it's kind of a catch-22. And I try to make sure that the article has, hey, look, if you don't feel safe going out right now, please don't. But follow these people on social media, listen to them on Spotify, check out their YouTube channel, catch them online when they do a live performance. And then when things open back up again, but in the meantime, you'll help keep them going. And order takeout from the venues you used to go to.
Yeah.
There
you go.
So I mean, it's a little bit of both. It hasn't stopped me from playing out, but I'm also kind of picky about where I do. So, if you're going to have people crowding around me a foot and a half away, breathing down my throat, then I really don't want to play there. So if the closest table is 25 feet away, I'm fine.
There you go.
And if you're following all the guidelines and sanitizing things and making sure people are wearing their masks and all that good stuff. So,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of let's be careful. Um, Never wanted to stop living, but I also don't want to. I also don't want to die from this disease either. So, you know,
Yeah.
but we'll see. Uh, so, what else do you have for us? I want to hear music.
All right. Well, then I will play you music.
We're on Capo 5 now, so you must have something planned.
I hope so. Yeah, this is a song off the second to last album called Full Circle. This is a tune called Linden Street. It's Bob, she said, without picking up the phone. He only calls when he's been drinking. Sometimes I'm lonely, but I'm better off alone, she said. And she just let the phone keep ringing. Well, I could pick up where we left off. And sometimes I think that I want to, but other times I wish that I could just run off like all those lucky men do. When I first met him, he really swept me off my feet. He could have had any girl back then, sooner than we should have. We've had that house on Linden Street, and I felt like I was better than all the rest of them. I spent my days playing house. We spent our nights playing cards, making love till our sweat chilled. But he got fired for stealing, and things started getting hard. I started working at the mill. He said he'd find something, and I'd kiss him at the door. The smell of coffee, bacon frying. He didn't want to settle like he had those times before. And one day he just stopped trying, and he said he'd be out hunting, but I knew that he was not. He'd come home smelling like beer or perfume. He'd be at the bar with Dickie selling pot. We're up the stairs in Jenny Lynn's room, and it was late one night while I was feeling awful beat. I heard his car pull up the driveway. Goddamn, that fight woke up half of Linden Street, and I watched him drive away. And when I was a young girl, my daddy told me I was a princess. But I ain't never met a soul who felt the same. Those nights alone when I am stoned out of my senses are the only times this crazy world feels sane. It's Bob, she said, without picking up the phone. He only calls when he's been drinking. Sometimes I'm lonely, but I'm better off alone, she said. She just let the phone keep ringing.
Great stuff, as always, Michael.
Hey, buddy, thank you. Thank you.
Did you have one more rap ready to go for us?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll tell you what. Let's do another new one.
Cool.
Let's do another new one. We got time for about 4 minutes. What time is it? Can we do 4?
Yeah.
Or something shorter.
We'll cut into the 9 o'clock show just a little bit. We got started a little late, but the good thing about the 9 o'clock is that no one follows it. So
Okay. There you
so
go.
Angie can run a little bit late too. So
All right.
we'll do one more. And then
Sorry,
we'll wrap
Andy.
it up.
I'll hurry it up here.
All right.
Well, I've been walking down the streets of my hometown, thinking about the ones I've loved and the ones I've let down. And I've been talking to myself more every day. But there ain't no point in talking when no one's listening anyway. And I've been trying to figure out the things that I can't live without. Thought I'd just take one long last look around. And the snow is softly falling, and I hear a voice calling, and I wonder why I'm still hanging around. Not sure I'm sober, but I've been in worse shape. That bottle was half empty when I started out today. I'm not sure it's over, but we ain't got much to say. And it's been like that for so long, I can't find another way. 'Cause I'm not sure you care about the things that I can't live without. You're always up to think just to put me down. And the snow is softly falling, and I hear a voice calling, and I wonder why I'm still hanging around. You can always tell the town that you're in, there ain't a friendly soul around. The city streets all smell like urine, and I wonder why I'm still hanging around. Can be whenever I put it off for far too long, trying to be the man with everything except for this here song. It's now or never. And who's to tell me that I'm wrong? I got a full tank, had some time to think. I've got to be moving on. It's the things that I care most about, the things that I can't live without. They'll vanish like the flakes upon the ground when the snow is softly falling, and I hear a voice calling, and I wonder why I'm still hanging around. Well, I've been walking down the streets of my hometown, thinking about the ones I've loved and the ones that I've let down. And I've been talking to myself more every day, but I've had enough of talking. I'm getting out of here today.
Michael, thank you so much. I could sit here and listen to you all night long, man. Definitely.
Well, we'll do
Seriously.
it again sometime, man. I can't tell you how much I appreciate having me on tonight.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here and playing music for us, and just everything about tonight was really awesome. It's great to see you again, even though it's on the internet. We have to like not be such strangers, I guess. It's been a while.
Absolutely,
Been too long.
man.
We should
it's
make
a
it.
plan.
We should make it a point to do something again soon.
I like
Um,
that.
you know, it's funny. You know, people always ask you like who your music is influenced by, and I won't necessarily say that I'm influenced by your music. I think I'm more influenced by you, and the things that you had. You definitely had an impact on what I do now, and something that I always appreciate. About you is just the encouragement and everything that you showed, not just to me, but to everybody really that you came in contact with. When you were running that open mic night, you brought people in, and it didn't matter what they sounded like. It was the encouragement that you gave them, and I remember many a night walking off the stage there at Burlap and Bean and thinking to myself, man, that song sucked. I'm never playing that again. and and some of them I haven't. But getting, just words of encouragement from you regardless. And maybe I was too harsh on myself, but maybe the song really did suck. Who knows? You know? But it was just that inspiration kept me going and really made me start to focus on writing again. Something I hadn't done for years. I had played in cover bands and done cover songs in bars for a long time, but really focusing on original music and writing and just keeping that going. You had an awful lot to do with that, whether you realize it or not. So,
Wow,
um,
man. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. But thank you, and man, you're doing good work out there. So just keep it up, man.
yeah,
Don't let
man,
me down.
definitely not, definitely not. Again, Michael, I appreciate you so much, man. Thanks for coming on tonight. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. Next week, we have Nick Lindsay from right here in Macungie, Pennsylvania. Another singer-songwriter that I think you'll really enjoy. Um, he reminds me a lot of somebody you know real well, Matt Duke.
Oh wow.
This guy reminds me of a young Matt Duke. So,
Dig the
um,
comparison. So
yeah, not just his style, but his voice and even some of his facial expressions when he's singing. It's like, wow, I'm watching Matt Duke all over again. So it's going to be a great show next week. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to check out so that Angie can check in. Stick around for Whip It Out Wednesday, and we will see you next week at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night with Nick Lindsay. Michael, thank you.
thank you, Ralph. Take it easy, buddy.
Good night.
You gotta keep the fire burning. Chase your dream, don't hesitate. Keep on dreaming, keep on yearning. Don't let the flame die while you wait.
Whip it out.
And now it's Rockin' Valley's Lehigh Valley Angel and with sunglasses at night. Here's Angie. Say something, girl.
Girl. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Whip It Out Wednesday. I hope you're ready because we got one heck of a show for you tonight. We've got Mr. Idiot Burns, Mistake Maker, Mr. Burns himself. How are you? Yep, you got the unmute. Yes. How are
Doing
you?
good. Doing good.
Yay. I'm so excited to have you on. We have Tony here with us too. You ready to rock out tonight?
Yeah, glad to be here.
I'm so glad you came and you're sharing all of your music and your beautiful pieces and telling us a little bit about what you do in your music.
Yep, my pleasure actually.
Yay! Are you ready, Tony?
I was looking forward to this one. This man knows metal.
How
Yay!
you doing,
Awesome.
Tony?
I'm doing good. Hey, thank you for that postcard. That was my first piece of mail here.
Yeah, I was glad to send it. That's handmade by the wife, I believe, the one you got.
Oh, that makes it even
Yeah,
more
the kids look
special.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I even got one of his stickers
Nice.
or his little patches.
Yeah. Yep. I got more stickers now. I can't wait to have more people to send stuff to.
Oh, we're about to have some fun, and hopefully we make some friends
We
along
gotta
the
get
way.
some of those.
Yeah. So tell me, because you do your own little podcasts and your shows, and
Yep.
you've got the family going on, and
Yep.
and being a parent and musician definitely has its obstacles.
Yep. Yep.
Tell me a little bit about it.
Well,
Oh,
I the thing is with it is I have a kind of a quickness to it where some people might sit there aiming for the perfect version of a riff. I'm pretty good at just letting hit the stuff hit the fan. So if I mess up, I'll leave it in there. If I have some squeaks and squeals, I'll leave them in there. And it's that's a big part of it is if I can let it if I can let go of the ego on the music, then the more I do it, the quicker I get. So that's been my mantra is not being a perfectionist actually makes it easier to get a perfect take. So that's the first part of it. And then the second ingredient is I got to have a really supporting wife who's willing to take care of the kids when I'm in here doing this, which doesn't earn me any money. It's just a recreation. Maybe someday, you never know. It's like a lottery ticket. You could keep buying them, but doesn't mean you're going to win. So I have a lot of equipment from years and years of gigging. And so I have everything I need to make music. So I do lots of genres. I mean, I may have played in mostly metal bands, but I also played in some soft rock bands here in Seattle. So I kind of go in different genres at different times and go in phases.
I've heard you do a whole bunch of
Yep.
genres.
Yep. I'll do electronic dance. I call that altered states. The metal, I call them stoner tracks, or I call them killer or something like that, based on like the kind of the style of them. I kind of have multiple band names, multiple usernames. I'm always changing names. Just it's part of my creative nature. I'm one of those people that
Yeah, I noticed that.
it's
I
like I'm
noticed that
pulling
in the
things.
last year.
It's like I'm pulling things out of the hat and just throwing them out there. The magic hat of creativity is deep over here. So that's a big part of it. I'm always thinking. I don't know. I'm one of those guys that if I'm at work, I might be working at Boeing and I might be doing something super intricate and looking at a blueprint and trying to wire this plane up. But somewhere in my mind, I'm also thinking of a riff, and I'm like, I can't wait to get home to make the riff happen.
Oh yeah.
And if it doesn't come out the way it sounds in my head, I don't sit there and fight with it. I just go, well, then that's what it is. Okay. I'll listen to it and I'll be more surprised by it when I listen to it in a month after not listening to it, because I'll be like, I never thought of that. That just came out of me. That wasn't the thing that if it's sitting, then that riff can sit in my head and keep being that fuel for like the next week until I finally get to it, or don't, because I get a new riff or whatever. So I just think of it as like an outlet. Sometimes I think of it like it replaces needing a therapist, or those kinds of, way to get the anger out. Sometimes, that's the drum kit is a good way.
A lot less side effects.
Right. And the drum kit is a good way to get energy out. Just like, I'm in Seattle. It's wintry all the time. It's raining half the year. You can only ride a bike while soaking wet for so long before you just want to go inside and do something inside. Drum
Well,
kit.
a drum kit is like having a Norda track.
Yeah, it's a Norda track, you know. Yeah. And yeah, the cool you
Just
can
with
also play
sticks.
one song. You could play one song and just get the energy out, you know, that the shakes out or whatever, or you could play 10 tracks and it could be a cardio for you, you know. So
I have to ask this. How many
Yeah.
times have you taken your kids' toys and added them into your music?
only a few times, actually, not a lot of times. But I have toys from when I was a kid. I don't know if you can see it back here.
Awesome.
I have this thing. It's called a Tyco hotkeys, and it's like you can do like lead stuff on it, or you can just have it run these like kind of like patterns, almost like loops. You have a genres, 3 different genres: metal, rock, and funk. And you have these 3 different genres that you can press into, and then that makes each set of 8 keys have 8 different loops, and all these loops are in the same key, so they all work together. You could do this bass line with this hot lead, any 8 with any 8. It's like 128 combinations per genre. I'll put that in music, or I'll sit there and listen, put the bass line on and just listen and learn the bass line and put it into a song. I'm like stealing the loops from my kid's toy that I got when I was 10. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I know.
People
Being
have
a
made
mom
songs with speaking
and
spells.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
It's just one of those things, you know, you're picking up toys, playing with toys, moving things
Yep.
all around. And like, there's just like that one sound. You're like, there's my riff for the night.
I need that. I need that
I
sound.
need that.
Or
I can
even-
borrow your
even-
toy. They will never
Even
know.
like do you remember Simon? Like back in the day, Simon
Yeah.
would get me thinking of tunes. Boo 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 boo.
Oh, right.
You know,
Yeah.
that would just program a tune into your head.
It's only one note away from a 5-note pentatonic scale, right? It's like it's a 4-note scale, you know.
Well, let's go ahead and
this is
listen to one of
Tycho
your
who makes
pieces.
this?
Tycho, here,
toy
I'll bust it
company?
out. I'll bust it out.
This is awesome.
This guitar down. I can get it out. Oh, this guitar.
The whole room looks like a toy store.
It
It's
does.
just like my kind of toy store.
This is it right here. The Tycho hotkeys, right? And you can strap it on,
For those.
right? And it's bass lines, boom, doom, 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 or boom, 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 right? I don't know if it has batteries, but if it does, I'll turn it on. Nope, it's been on for too long. It's halfway on. But you turn it on, you can have headphones because your mom's like, stop that.
Yep.
Say again? Did I freeze?
I think the camera froze.
Oh, it's
We got a
looks like it's
shot of your
working over
I think
here.
we're good.
Okay, but
It's your connection,
Whoa,
Tony.
that's cool.
but it ends up having like metal, oldies, and rock. That's what it was.
That is cool.
And then you
That
can you
is-
can mess with the tempo and the key. You can down a note, down a note, down a note, up a note, up a note, up a note. Then it even has go up a 4th and go up a 5th on a button right here. Shift a 4th, shift a 5th. So you can it kind of actually bring the whole riff, the whole key shifts a 4th or shifts a 5th. And it gave me a really early understanding of what, like how music worked and how if something's in a key, it'll work together. It doesn't have to be matching riffs. It can
Now,
be completely.
Did you buy that for your kids?
No,
Did you buy
my
that for your
Aunt
kids
Rita.
or for yourself?
My Aunt Rita got this for me when I was a kid, when I was 11 years old.
I remember
for
those, but
real?
now, like,
Yeah.
I'm looking
Wow, that's
back
an
and I'm
awesome-
like,
That's a good
if I
aunt.
only knew now what like you're showing me, like if I would have
93.
mine, like
I got this in 93
wow.
and it started me out. That was my first instrument. So I keep
That
it.
is
I'm not
awesome.
I'm not letting go of my first guitar.
I got like
keytar-
globes
guitar.
when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that turns any kid into a rock star.
Yeah, and the faster and faster you go, the faster the energy gets, and all of a sudden you're in blurry motion. And yeah, it was a blast. And my mom was like, "Put headphones
That's
on."
where
and,
the metal came from.
right, she's like,
Yep.
"Put headphones on." And one day I realized that when you play your Walkman, and then you plug it into the stereo. Wait, this can plug into the stereo. My mom comes home and it's like boom, 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 boom. The whole house is shaking with the keyboard. You need to stop that now. You're gonna play on the speakers.
That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I spent like 28 hours, like 3 days after school, all of my day not doing homework and programming it into Rebirth, which is a Roland program by Propellerhead that came out
the
in
DAW. Yep.
Yeah, it came out in like 98, and like in 99 I programmed every single note from every single pattern into that so that I could have it in Rebirth.
Oh God, you transposed them manually.
Manually sitting there.
That's hardcore, man. That's when you know you really like.
That's my beginning of music was using Rebirth,
and
and
way to learn too.
And this MIDI program that was a MIDI drawing program that was on Windows 98. In 97, I started drawing MIDI out because I only had one guitar, when I first started, and I was like, how do I make it so there's a bass in the drum? So I would just program
Coda
what I was imagining.
back then.
Say again. Missed you.
What did you say? Coda was the big one towards the end of the 90s. Coda.
Yeah, these
Coda
guys
was a notation software, and you could just like paint your notes.
Yep, this was note painting. Went to MIDI, used the 128 native instruments on like a Creative Blaster 16 card, and it was made by these two guys.
Back then was.
Yeah, it was pretty rare. There was nobody making MIDIs. I was like a 15-year-old kid making MIDIs, and they're all here on BandLab. If you go to on my BandLab page, I have I actually took them because I saved all those MIDIs and kept moving them from disc to disc, and eventually I took all those MIDIs and I put them into GarageBand, and then later I went and I took all those MIDIs and put them back on this computer right here in front of me, and I brought them all in as MIDIs to BandLab so that you can actually look at the MIDIs and manipulate the MIDIs and change the instruments, so it isn't just the set sounds like to what I imagined back when I was 15, but. So there's two versions of the list. There's like 80 something songs.
And they got some pretty good sounds over there.
Yeah, and you can
pretty good sounds over.
You can change them from the guitars that I imagined to slow it down, make keys, make beats out of it. I'm open about all my stuff, so just credit me.
Well, let's go ahead and listen to one of your pieces.
Sure.
Hey, Steve, can you push the button, please? Oh, good faithful leader.
Which one?
One. That works.
Which song?
That one.
We're picking numbers, right?
Here it comes. All right.
It's Whip It Out Wednesday.
You use your eyes like I do. 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 I do. I close your eyes like I do. You use your eyes like I do. Like I do. Like I do.
I
Hell
love
yeah.
it.
You use your eyes like
Awesome.
I do. That's when you. That's the song about that idea when you look at somebody
Nice.
and there's that instant connection.
Yeah.
You know you're gonna be friends or maybe even lovers. You never know, but there's that instant connection, and you're like, boom.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Matt Dunlap did the drums on that one. Matt, he's a good friend of mine. He's a coworker at Boeing with me, so um, we email at work when we're bored, stuff like
Killer
that.
drummer too.
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah.
great. Too bad he's
Absolutely.
not excited about ever being on stage, and he's never been in a band or never played a live show. Sounds like he's played a million though.
I'm not big
Yeah.
on the stage either. I like I like being in the studio. I like constructing and composing and writing.
Yep.
Stage that's cool if it's there, but
Yep.
not my motivation either. It's a lot of work.
I like bringing gear in. I like playing the music
I
so
love it.
loud at the venue that the guy at the bar is like, "Will you turn down?" And then he says it later, "If you don't turn down, you're leaving." And then he kicks us out. I'd rather be kicked out than turned down too.
Well, you probably need like 3 roadies to carry all that crap.
No, it was always just all me. That's where I got like these shoulders. Ugh. No, maybe not anymore.
Oh
They
man,
kind of
you do your
disappeared.
own roadieing? You're
Yeah, I used to do
hardcore.
roadieing stuff. I have too much energy, you guys. I sleep 4-hour nights. I play like I'm over caffeinated, but there's never too much caffeine. I can fall asleep like that and wake up 4 hours later. I'm useful to any boss that hires me.
I
Tell you
wonder
that.
when you go to sleep because you do your show.
Yeah, I do
You
my
do your
show. I'm
show
up
at like
till,
midnight, 1 o'clock, and
and then
I
I'm
see
up
you
for 2
sometimes
more
till like
hours.
4 or 5 in the morning. I'm like, does this cat go to sleep?
I sleep. I sleep between that time. I sleep from like 1-ish, 2 o'clock to like 5, maybe 6 in the morning, and then I'm up. So that's it. I'm
Strategic
That's
done.
funny, and
blinking.
that's coming from Tony,
Strategic
who's
blinking.
awake all night and sometimes doesn't sleep till like 1, 2
There-
in the afternoon.
What is that Einstein used to do? Einstein used to take a plate, put it next to his armchair, put a key in his hand, and then go get ready for a nap. And his hand would be overhanging the plate. And when he fell asleep, he'd let go of the key and it'd land and it'd wake him up. He slept. He called it key sleep. It's like a second of sleep, and he's back up working again.
Eh,
I needed my mental rest.
It puts you in a certain sleep state,
Yeah.
like where you're almost there.
It
but
lets
you're
you fall
still
asleep.
Aware.
You let your body relax all the way to the point of falling asleep, but you don't sit there sleeping all day. You just get that basic rest, let your
Yeah.
body wind down. Once it's winded down enough that it could fall asleep, get back to work now. So yeah, key sleep.
That's what I did from like 14 until like 40. From 14 to 40, that's how I slept. Was just
Yep.
like,
well, I'll be there in a
never
couple
REM.
years.
Now I love my REM sleep. Now when I go to sleep, I don't want to get up.
I quit smoking marijuana this year, and I was smoking since I was mid-20s, and I had roommates when I was in my early 20s.
Go figure. It becomes legal and you quit.
I used to be able to make a living growing it, and then they legalized it, and no one's buying weed for $20 a gram anymore.
I made a living smoking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
We
anymore.
could have had a relationship. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, there was that, and then they made it legal, and you couldn't survive on growing it in your bedroom. You couldn't even support the grow, so it became an industry here in Washington State. I'm just waiting for the day when they deschedule it so that I can do things like work on planes and smoke at night or on the weekend when I go home and be free to do what I want when I want to. Until then, I'm just going to be done smoking. I'm not going to get
that's
caught.
that's the crap. There is, you got a job where that's a requirement, and
Yep.
it'll stick around in you for months. So like
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those catch-22s. If you have to choose between your career and that, then you kind of make a choice.
Yeah, you know,
And
I
in
could
this
have
case, it's a smart
coworkers.
one.
I could have coworkers that are like doing crack on the weekends, and then they go back in, and by the time they have a work accident in the middle of the Monday
That's
shift,
the irony.
not even in their body.
It doesn't actually
Yeah.
make anything safer.
Yeah, and then I'm smoking pot on the weekend, and then I go in, and on Friday, the next, like almost a week later, I have a work accident in the morning, and I'm like, they're like, well, it's still in your system, never working here again. So,
Yeah.
I just made the choice to quit, you know. So, but since quitting, my sleep has been intense. When I was in my young 20s, I used to like my roommates used to be like, "Dude, you yell in
Oh,
your
and I'm
sleep."
sure it's kicked in some different creative
You
wires.
yell in your sleep?
I have night
I'm
terrors.
sure
I yell.
creatively.
Yeah, and no, it is.
You stop smoking, you got night terrors?
So I used to have them when I was young, and I thought
That would
they
happen
went
to me
away.
too.
I thought they went away, right? And I guess it was just being suppressed by the marijuana, because the last couple months, my wife is like taking notes on the things I say in my sleep. I'm like, "You motherfuckers, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you." She's like, "Dude, why are you
Oh, I
yelling?"
can't wait till
Oh,
she
wait, he's
records you.
See, that's the
yeah.
She's got a video record
that's
you.
the metal, just like
Oh man, I had the day before that storming on the Capitol. I had like a dream that like the whole United States was in this state of anarchy, and Trump had come out as a cross-dresser, and the whole left is like, "Oh, I guess we should have voted for Trump. He's a cross-dresser. Oh man, what we didn't know." And it was, I mean, I was shared this on a couple other of my blogs, but it was a crazy nightmare. It was like it was premonishing the whole event. And then right as I wake up, my wife's like, "They're storming the Capitol." I'm like, "No, is it going to happen? Was my nightmare going to happen?"
I'm just I'm picturing him in like red heels,
It was
a nice
weird
little
'cause
blouse with it, like.
he looked better than his wife as a cross-dresser. I was like, "No,
hey,
how does he look
Melania's
so
got some
good?"
kick-ass clothes.
Yeah, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how does he look so good? This can't be right."
That's awesome. Let's go ahead and play another one of your songs.
Sweet.
I want to rock out. Hey, Dude, I was jamming. I didn't want it to stop.
Yeah, though there's a 14-minute version of it too.
Oh god, that was
Yeah.
awesome. I
Yeah,
heard a whole bunch of different lyrics behind that.
Yeah.
That takes me back to like my Casio CZ5000 days back in the 80s.
Yep.
The kind of stuff that I would write when I got this synthesizer with all these different sounds, and you go through these different moods and sequencing.
Yeah.
And that's how I used to like just jam out for hours.
Yeah, that was like what I do is I sit down, I program the drums part, and I get a drum part where I can kind of imagine something, and then I have a guitar with a MIDI pickup, and I control synthesizer sounds. So it's all played. It's all hand played stuff. I played like the piano part. I get
how's the latency on that? When you use that, how's the latency? Does it feel natural?
The first time I got
do you
it,
compensate in your head for the like split six?
when I first had it, I had to compensate because they had like a 16 millisecond latency. So I got a different module. I kept looking online, and they said the Roland GI-10 only does 3 milliseconds of latency, plus the two milliseconds of the program, 5 milliseconds of latency. I got bandmates that were worse than that, so I was like, ain't no thing. I could figure that out. Yeah. 5 is not a big deal. But 20,
it just takes a little mental tweaking.
Yep. It's actually the tracking that will get more frustrating when you're trying to do like a synth solo with bends, and you bend it and it goes like way up higher, or stuff like that. And you're like, damn,
it's
that
not
whole
like
solo.
a whammy bar.
Damn it, I needed a whole solo's got to be done over. Yeah. So I'll sit there doing that same take on the solo for like an hour. But when you get it, you're like, save.
Breathe.
Good.
Yeah.
It's there forever. Don't hit undo by accident.
Well, we definitely got to talk more, because I've been dying to talk to a MIDI guitarist. For decades.
I am one.
I've ever had
since
was like
99.
I don't want MIDI guitar, and I was like, why not?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want a MIDI guitar?
You can see
it's an instant notator.
You can see why I actually maybe some people are like, they hear your covers and they go, oh, it's MIDI, and why a guy like me is like, yes, Tonus. I love Tonus. I love what he's doing. I've been doing that since I was 17 years old. So
and most people's misperception with MIDI is they clump it all into this, like, it's like Trump supporters kind of mentality, where it's like, oh, all MIDI is fake, and MIDI just means sheet music. It's notation, and it's all about the samplers and the sounds, and it's no different than picking an amp for your guitar. So like, if a guitarist who picks a different amp for a different sound is the same as a MIDI keyboardist who uses different samples.
Even a DJ is a musician, so a guy doing MIDI
use a lot of guitar samples,
way beyond a DJ. You know,
I play more guitar these days than I do piano.
Right. To get samples. Okay. Yeah.
I got a funny story for you now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've heard of a DJ, but I did not hear of a VJ. Like, I've just never even heard that term.
MTV.
No. Well, okay, so it was really funny because
VJs.
What's that? Yeah, but I never heard of it. It was like it's DJ. It was always a DJ. Like, so I never heard it as a VJ, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So the first time somebody said that to me, which of course was Slither Joe, he had said, you're a really good VJ. And I was like, questioned myself for a minute. I'm like, what did he call me? Wait a minute.
Are you using a dirty term? What does he
exactly mean? Doesn't it sound like a dirty term? Seriously. So I learned what a VJ was. And it's nothing like a dirty term.
VJ is different than VJJ, okay?
And anything else that ends in J.
Well, back in the MTV days, VJs were, that's what you watched, was VJs
Kurt Loder,
who presented videos.
Yep.
So Slither grew up in the MTV days before they became reality television.
Okay, well,
Right.
here was me trying to make music out of everything. I don't care if it was a knob on the bed, if it was when my dad would have his band downstairs, which they did all original stuff,
Yep.
and the drummer would leave his drums here, and I'd just go down and like play around with it and drive my parents nuts, because I'm just not very good at tempo. I have never had that beat thing going on. And it'd be funny because
Drums are the
of the way that I
first.
write and the way that I do things. But
Drums are the first instrument everybody tries. Drums as a kid, a baby, like a baby is a drummer.
Right.
It's the
oh
first
Right.
no,
instrument you play,
Right.
technically.
actually, I grabbed the mic. Nope, I wanted to write songs and I didn't care if they were about frogs, birds, my shoe, dirt, anything, like all in one within 2 minutes.
Right. I had a debate with a user on BandLab about the vocals. Are they an instrument?
Yes,
And
they are.
then well, they are an instrument,
Oh,
but they
absolutely.
aren't an instrument because when
Correct.
you sing a
Especially
cappella,
nowadays.
in
Nowadays,
singing
even
a
more so.
cappella is not an instrumental. Instrumental and a cappella are two different things. They're like the antithesis of each other, but you put them together and you create a song.
Right.
So is it an instrument? It's used like an instrument. It's not an instrument. It's before instruments. We created instruments to emulate the voice. The voice is the ultimate instrument, but at the same time, instrumentals have no vocals. So it's a nowhere argument.
Yeah,
It's
I
but
mean,
it's
Well,
the
okay,
irony
so
of it
then
all.
what would you say to an artist that can actually hold, like, I don't know if you've heard of this, where a vocalist can hold two notes at once?
like David Lee Roth.
Would that be an instrument then?
Yeah,
What?
I know a couple singers on BandLab that do that.
Yeah.
I know
David
a
Lee
Yeah,
Roth.
so
couple
now
singers on
Yeah.
BandLab
so now
that
so now
occasionally
is that
get
is
a
their voice an
double
instrument voice
vibrato.
versus
I
other
I
voices?
think it's still this for me. It's still the same conundrum because when that guy's alone, it's a cappella. It's not called an instrumental. If that guy
I
sings on
guess
his
you
own,
had me on that one.
right? They call it a cappella, and if he
If you're
sits
singing
there
by
and plays
yourself,
the
you're singing a
guitar,
melody.
they call it an instrumental. So, but at the same time, it's the ultimate instrument. I'm not going to deny that it's the ultimate instrument.
Correct.
You get stuck on an island, you still have music because you got your voice and you got the
Oh, it's-
coconuts, So you're
If you're
good.
lucky to have coconuts.
Yeah, if you got coconuts. Yeah. If you don't, well, that goes away until you got nothing but a washboard abs.
You know what you mentioned earlier about like what you mentioned earlier about like writing while you work.
Yep.
It is that instrument that you can do that. This is why like some of the great songs of the past were like ones that like slaves were singing in the field. Like
Yep.
you got to do what you got to do, but at the same time you're gonna sing. You're if you want to make music, you can make it all day long, no matter what you're in the middle of.
It reminds me
even
of
if
that guy on the BBC, and he goes to Led Zeppelin. They're like late 60s, they're coming out. Led Zeppelin's new, and the guy goes, are your songs really songs? Because songs are these things that you can whistle at work. And I can't whistle Kashmir, da-da-dun, da-da-dun. I can't whistle your
I
songs.
can.
And you can, but that's because back then it was like beyond their scope, and they're like, you can just,
Yeah.
there's a difference between it being in your head and it being like an orchestra, and then you just whistle a part of it and the rest of it comes to, my grandma had all these songs she would whistle. There were all these classical older songs, all these really old songs, everywhere whistleable songs. And those are the things, like, I think part of what you're saying touches on this, but
Whistleable.
yeah, they were whistleable. And they said to Led Zeppelin, are your songs really songs? Because they weren't whistleable. But like the classic 70s music, it's more complicated. Things get more and more complicated over time. But dude, would Zeppelin be any good without the vocals? No, they got to have the vocals. And you could whistle
yeah.
Dazed and Confused,
what you're mentioning there, whistleable.
Yeah.
To be whistleable, I guess the equivalent in the music world would be to be like pop, something catchy.
Yep.
when that radio producer is looking for the hits for the radio, they want the songs that people are going to like get in the top 40. There's a certain recipe for that, and I guess that would be the whistleable songs where like people pick up and glom onto.
Wasn't
it,
that
like,
last song we just listened to by
the
me?
Better songs tend to be the ones that are.
I think so.
The last song I just did, we just played by
so.
me. It's in my head. I'm still whistling it, you know, it's still going. It's got a little bit of pop side to it, you know, and that's totally true. Like, that's what they had. They had pop music.
The key to getting that on the radio and having the key to getting that on the radio and having like a studio say, well, here's a lot of money and we want to put this up there, is getting that whistleable feeling and the right words, the right production, the right recipe, and whipping it all up and saying, boom, here's a 5-minute, you know, $1 million hit.
Yep.
That's what they're looking for.
It's
That's
coming,
how
guys.
They approach it.
It's
As
coming.
a musician, you get the whistle part, and then you want to do more than just do the whistle part. Like that's what gets the song started. Like, oh, this is a good idea, but eventually you have to arrange around it, and musicians don't tend to want to just make a whistle track. Like, you know.
Yeah. We're more creative. It's not in our nature to do that. Sometimes we get refined to that level, but it's not naturally the way we are.
Well, if you're trying to make a living off of it, when those who decide like, I'm going to make a living off of this, that forces you to be a good musician. A good musician who's making a living does whatever's necessary in order to make a living.
Right.
Which might not mean you get to write your like amazing personal hit. It might mean you have to write the thing you feel like is crap. Like, oh, why does everybody?
Why I always say to musicians who are young,
and they have also what tends to sell.
But that's why I always say to musicians who are young and they have these big dreams, just do everything you can to have a good job also. Because if push come to shove, eventually that dream can come true because you'll have enough money to back it.
Don't force it on the music.
Yeah. Don't make it so that the music's accountable.
Let the music actually happen naturally.
Yeah.
Have a backup plan.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, if fans want to find you, what are the links they can find you at?
They can find me at youtube.com/idiotburns or at bandlab.com/idiotburns. Those are my spots.
Awesome. I believe your wife says the voice is an instrument. And she said, Chris disagrees.
I don't 100% disagree. That was your wife. I don't 100% disagree, but I do think that it's also, if you were to categorize all the instruments, it wouldn't be in that category. It's something else. It's beyond instrument.
It's perception of
it's
perception of what an instrument is. But nowadays, you take that same plug-in that like you use to go translate the guitar, they have them for the vocals too. I've seen a guy play a bass line with his voice, and he was slapping that bass like a funk bass player from the 70s. Just doing like vocal beatboxing pretty much.
And the reverse of that.
I make this sound, play that sound over there.
Right. You can use your keyboard with that. You can use your keyboard and get really good patches, and it can sound like a female vocalist going like singing in a choir.
Trust me, you can.
Yeah. So you can go both ways with it.
Let's go ahead and play another one of your songs, okay?
Sweet.
Yay! Steve, we want to rock on. Please push the button.
Yeah.
That was awesome. There were so many cool different twangs and tones going in through all of that.
Slap bass.
I wanted to
Matt done
ask you
that.
about that.
Yes.
How are you getting that bass sound? That's Dunlap again, doing
Matt
the
Dunlap on
bass.
drums. We did a whole album together. He just sent me drum tracks, and I did them.
Oh, who's
That's
playing
right
the
here.
bass on those last two, the two metal tracks? That's you on that. And then what are you doubling it up?
How
Because
cool.
I hear like I on the other one I was hearing like this doubled up. One was a slap bass, and the other was like more guitar. And I was wondering if you were doing your bass parts with both a bass and a guitar on the
Nope.
same parts.
Nope. I just do the guitar. I usually do a
all
left and
coming
right
out of that.
guitar and a bass. Yep. Just one track of bass.
Well,
Just play hard.
That little slap sound that you get out of that holy shit, man, you slap.
Oh yeah,
You
it
slap
hurts. My
good.
fingers hurt after I'm done recording a few tracks.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do a whole show and you're like, damn, man, I need some ice for my hand.
Oh, that's
Well,
awesome.
it
Yeah, I
really
love
makes
that.
the song like on
Yeah.
those two songs that it's bass driven.
Yep.
And like on that last one, you know what it reminds me of? You know, in Cheech and Chong, my mama talking to me, try to tell me how to live.
Live.
That
Da-da-dum,
bass line that you
da-da-dum.
were doing on that last one had the same kind of da-dum, da-dum. It had the same
I love
kind of
that song.
punch to it that like that. It wasn't the same notes, but
Right.
it had the same kind of mood. Like
Yep.
this
Yep.
would be like an old Kiss song, like a Gene Simmons song
Yes.
from like the early 70s.
Yes. I love
She
that.
walks by
I love that kind of
moonlight.
brutal rock. Melvin's, early Nirvana,
Oh yeah.
early Metallica, any of those guys that just, early. I always think about this. The metal bands are cool, but the very first records by metal bands are full of energy and way cooler. So I always like that when the young.
Well, what was
energy.
your first Metallica? Which was your first? Which album
Kill 'Em
was
All.
your first Metallica? Because
Kill
it
'Em
was
All.
Ride the Lightning, which blew my mind, and then I went to everything else. But Ride the Lightning is where I started. But they did change my musical direction for sure.
I
When
was in
Metallica came out,
school.
I
and,
could have been this kind of musician. I went in the other direction.
I was in school, and some football player jocks that I was on football team with played on the moving up assembly where we're going from one grade to the other or whatever. And these two jocks went down and they had instruments. I was like, what? I thought band was for nerds. And they played Four Horsemen off Kill 'Em All.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I
there
need
you
a
go.
bass now. There was a guitarist and a drummer. I need a bass. So I went and got a bass with my dad, and I started on bass. That was my first instrument. Got this one at a pawn shop for $600. It was stolen from me out of my house, and I looked on it every day on eBay. I looked for it every day. I went to pawn shops, and I found it. It was in Duluth, Georgia. My police called them, verified that it was the same serial number, and they got it back 2 days later in the mail from the Duluth, Georgia Sheriff's Department. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. So what was lost is now found, and I love that bass.
And that's the kind of thing that, yes, I don't know what I would do if any of my musical equipment had ever gotten stolen. I think I would have just gone bonkers.
It sucked. I didn't have a good bass for a long time.
That's like having your child kidnapped.
Yes, except for if I never got the bass
back. What was your first instrument?
My first instrument was bass.
What did you?
Did
you start as bass to guitar or guitar to bass? What was the transition there?
So I got a bass. I thought a
I'm
bass.
I'm gonna say nope. You already showed us your first instrument.
Bass.
Nope. Where's your keyboard? Or would it?
Well, yeah. This was the first instrument. But my first instrument, well, I thought music was cool. Was I saw
what was the one that like I'm gonna play this until
so I saw those guys play. I wanted a bass.
Me, it was keyboards.
I wanted a bass because I saw those guys play and I wanted to be part of the group. I got a Metallica album. I got like all of them from Kill 'Em All to the Black album. And I got Load from a friend. So I had all the way up to Load.
Awesome way to start.
And Then I go over to my best friend's house, and he's got a guitar there. We're gonna jam, and his brother-in-law, I mean, comes down and picks up this guitar and starts playing Jimi Hendrix, Slayer, Nirvana. He just starts playing every genre, Tom Petty, and I'm like, what? Guitar does everything? Now I need a guitar. And so I needed a guitar. And then the next year, that was that summer between high school, and then high school came, and my first class was a guitar class. And then after that, my first period was swimming, lifeguarding. Then my second period was a guitar class. Then my third period was open. And during that open time, there was a drum kit in the jazz room, and I would go there and play it. And this guy would come in and play bass, and I'd play the drums, and then we'd switch. And so then I got a drum kit.
Music teachers back then were so cool.
Yep.
Back
I had
then,
all
the
three in a
music
year.
teachers would be like, if I wanted to hang out, my music teachers throughout high school would let me hang out in the chorus room and the piano rooms at any time I wanted. I would skip half the day of school and go like in the piano room or in the choral room, and there'd always be like a few people who, the other musicians in the school.
Yeah, it's amazing that I graduated with all the time I spent in that area. So,
oh, same here.
Yeah.
I think they just wanted me out. They graduated me. They're like, please go.
He'll just keep coming year after year with his guitar if we don't get him out of here.
You won't be able to hear anything.
I thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah,
For
thanks for having
whipping
me.
it out with me. We're going to
Yeah.
play one last song and close out the show.
Sweet.
Again, please go ahead and make sure you look up at Idiot Burns on BandLab.
Yep.
And use it also on YouTube under
And
Idiot
YouTube.
Burns, correct?
Yep.
Or Christopher Burns.
Yep. And if you need to really get a hold of me, over on my YouTube, my About has my email. So.
Woo!
Yep.
Thanks for tuning in here on Rock in the Valley. Hey,
Still
Steve.
use email, huh?
Yep.
Can you play another one of his songs before we close out, please?
Sure.
Steve, push a button.
I'm stuck.
Steve.
Yeah, please press the
actually wanna
button,
hear-
Steve.
Listen.
Yay!
I would really like
Thank
to hear both
you.
of these. I mean, the old kind is the
Pound
original,
the
and we got
button.
Winter
If
Sky.
this is
is-
metal,
No, don't pound it.
pound
He'll
the
break it. He'll break it, Tony. He eats mics.
That keyboard can.
Yeah,
Hey,
good. All right.
Did you find the right button, Steve?
Yeah, I'm right here. Chris, which one? The old kind or Winter Sky?
Winter Sky's pretty long. We could do that one. It's pretty cool.
All right. How long is pretty long? Like a week?
10 minutes.
Oh, 10.
It's like Pink Floyd. It sounds like Pink Floyd.
Right.
Well, then Winter Sky. Here we go.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Whip It Out Wednesday. To go ahead and view this, go on to youtube.com/Rock in the Valley. You can also go to rockinthevalley.com, like and subscribe so you can see all of our great artists and shows that we have here at Rock in the Valley. I hope we do this again because this was so much fun. Like you definitely like. I don't know how you did that with the guitar in that last piece. If you laid that down and played that or what, but like that was just gorgeous. So I thank you so much for
Epic
sharing.
Epic finale.
Thank you.
Thank
My
you
pleasure,
again
you
for
guys.
tuning in to Whip It Out Wednesday. Till next week. Toodles.
Thank you, Angie.
Absolutely.